For the longest time now, we've known that scores have been killed in Colombia. Previously, it was thought that Guatemala was the worst for US-backed killings in Latin America at 200,000 killed in the 1980s. According to a WikiLeaks cable release, the number killed by right-wing paramilitaries in Colombia is 257,089. These deaths are only the registered ones. It doesn't count those who've been killed secretly. The inhumanity of the Guatemalan capitalist regime has been surpassed by the capitalist slaughters in Colombia. The U.S. Embassy cable entitled 2009 to 2010 International Narcotics Control Strategy Report acknowledges that the terrible truth is that there are 257,089 registered victims of the right-wing paramilitaries. This means that not only did the U.S. government know about the killings they are paying for, they've been deliberately underreporting them. The U.S. government has been refusing to report how many people they have slaughtered in Colombia. No doubt many of these deaths have been falsely attributed to FARC in an attempt to cover up U.S. responsibility. The cable shows that the U.S. has known about the mass killings it has been sponsoring for years. Even with this direct knowledge, U.S. President Barack Obama is continuing with the pledge to give Colombia $500 million for military and police aid, all under the pretext of combating the war on drugs. The war is against the FARC rebels, who refuse to allow this type of fascist right-wing state to exist unopposed. It also clearly demonstrates that these killings have not affected the U.S. desire to implement the Colombia Free Trade Agreement last year. With all the murdered union activists and leaders, it's no surprise that the elite capitalist media have held Colombia as a promising new ground for foreign investment for manufacturing and textiles. The conditions for slaughter for anyone who would dare oppose the rule and the crimes of the bosses must be too tempting for the capitalist class to pass up. One of the more vulnerable victims of the right-wing paramilitary violence is the indigenous peoples of Colombia. Not only that, it also shows an increasing trend of killing among them. The cable says for the second consecutive year, killings of indigenous increased. It's estimated a 50% increase from 2008 to 2009. The indigenous peoples have become one of the biggest targets that now 34 indigenous groups are now near total eradication. As was done to the Native Americans, it is continuing to be done to the indigenous in Colombia. There's a new book, Cocaine, Death Squads, and the War on Terror by Drew Colley, that claims the number is much higher. It says that the number has been lowered through mass graves and Nazi-style crematoria. The specter of the Nazi Holocaust is likely to be living on through the U.S. war on drugs. The horrors of the capitalist Nazi regime are being repeated on behalf of the new capitalist world power. This also shows that genocide is how the U.S. plans to carry out its interests in profit-making.